Welcome to Night Whispers. Tonight, you can relax, let your thoughts slow down, and allow the night to settle in. Here, you will hear calm, paranormal stories. Stories based on real experiences, quiet places, strange encounters, and things that cannot always be explained. There are no loud sounds here, no sudden noises, just a calm voice, the darkness, and the whispers of the night. I didn't choose the house because it felt special. I chose it because it didn't. It was quiet, inexpensive, and far enough from the road that passing cars sounded like distant waves rather than interruptions. The kind of place where nothing was supposed to happen. The kind of place where nights were meant for rest, not for remembering. The first evening there passed without incident. I unpacked slowly, letting the familiar rhythm of small tasks calm me. Plates into cupboards, clothes into drawers, a lamp by the bed. When night came, it came gently, settling over the house like a blanket rather than a weight. The silence felt earned. I lay down, listening to the subtle sounds that every old house makes. Wood adjusting to the cold. Pipes sighing. Wind brushing against the siding. None of it felt wrong. None of it felt unexpected. Eventually, my thoughts softened, and sleep found me without effort. That was the last truly empty night. The second night began the same way. Dinner. A book. The slow dimming of lights as I moved from room to room. But when I turned off the lamp beside the bed, I hesitated. The darkness felt attentive. Not heavy. Not threatening. Just aware. I dismissed the thought as exhaustion. New places always carried unfamiliar shadows. My breathing slowed, and I closed my eyes. That was when I heard it. Not a sound exactly. Not something I could point to or describe clearly. It was closer to a vibration than a voice, low and subtle, as if the house itself had exhaled. I held my breath, waiting for it to repeat. It didn't. The silence returned, thicker than before, as if something had been said and carefully taken back. I lay there for a long time, listening, until my pulse steadied and sleep claimed me once more. In the morning, everything looked normal. Sunlight filled the rooms. Dust rested where dust always rests. No doors stood open. No objects had moved. The house wore its stillness convincingly, like a practiced expression. I told myself the night had been nothing more than a half-dream. The third night, I stayed awake longer. I don't know why. There was no fear pushing me, no clear reason to be alert. Just a quiet instinct that suggested listening might be important. I lay on my back, eyes closed, breathing evenly, pretending to sleep. The house waited with me. Minutes passed. Then more. The silence stretched, patient and unbroken, until I began to wonder if I had imagined the earlier sensation entirely. And then it happened again. That same vibration. Deeper this time. More deliberate. It wasn't coming from any single direction. Not from the walls or the ceiling or the floor, but from the space between them. As if the sound existed inside the house rather than traveling through it. My name formed inside my thoughts before it reached my ears. Not spoken clearly. Not loudly. Just present. My name. I didn't open my eyes. I didn't move. Every instinct told me that responding, even with breath or muscle, would change something permanently. The house didn't repeat itself. It didn't insist. It simply held the moment, as if waiting to see what I would do with it. Eventually, the feeling faded, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier with meaning. Sleep came late and uneasy. After that, the nights developed a pattern. The days remained ordinary. The house was harmless in sunlight, almost forgettable. But each night, the quiet grew more intentional. The sounds of the house became fewer, as though it were learning restrained. Sometimes I would hear soft shifts in the walls, movements that stopped the moment I focused on them. Other times, the silence itself felt sculpted, shaped carefully around me. I stopped inviting people over. Not because I feared what they might experience, but because I sensed the house didn't want witnesses. It had chosen its audience. Me. One night, as I lay awake, the house spoke again. This time, it didn't use my name. It used familiarity. Memories surfaced that weren't mine to summon. Small details I hadn't thought about in years. The sound of my childhood home settling at night. The weight of blankets from winters long past. The comfort of being awake while the world slept. The house wasn't threatening me. It was learning me. That realization brought a different kind of fear. Not sharp or sudden, but slow and deep. The understanding that something could know you without ever being seen. That walls could listen. That silence could observe. I considered leaving. The thought lingered during the day, rational and reasonable. But each night, as I lay in bed, the idea felt less urgent. Less necessary. The house never asked me to stay. It didn't need to. It simply made staying feel natural. One evening, I noticed the lamp in the living room was still warm when I returned from the kitchen. I was certain I had turned it off. The warmth wasn't alarming. It was considerate. As if the house had remembered what I liked. I slept deeply that night. The next morning, I found myself moving more quietly through the rooms. Closing doors gently. Avoiding sudden noises. Not out of fear, but out of courtesy. The house responded with comfort. The nights grew calmer. The vibrations softer. The presence less distinct, but more constant. Like being watched by something that no longer needed to announce itself. Eventually, the house spoke again. It wasn't my name this time. It was my thoughts. Not all of them. Just fragments. Half-formed ideas I hadn't voiced. Doubts I hadn't shared. The house reflected them back to me, not as questions, but as acknowledgments. It knew when I was tired before I did. It dimmed the night accordingly. It knew when I was restless. It filled the silence with subtle sound. I realized then that the house wasn't alive in the way people imagine. It didn't want, or hunger, or demand. It remembered. And it adapted. On the final night, or what I consider the final night, I lay awake longer than usual. The house felt different. Still calm, still quiet, but attentive in a way that suggested completion. I sensed that it had learned enough. The vibration came once more, gentle and familiar, like a breath taken in recognition. No words followed. None were needed. I understood. The house didn't need me to stay forever. It needed me to be known. In the morning, I packed slowly. The house didn't resist. The silence didn't cling. It allowed me to leave with the same patience it had shown from the beginning. As I closed the door for the last time, the house stood unchanged. Quiet. Ordinary. Empty to anyone else. Even now, when I think back on that place, I wonder what would have happened if I had stayed longer. If I had listened more closely. If I had allowed myself to sink deeper into that shared stillness where the house and I were no longer separate. And sometimes, when the world around me grows too loud and sleep feels far away, I swear I can still feel it. Not calling. Just waiting.